Hello, my friend, and welcome to the podcast. I am so excited to tell you about today's episode because it's an interesting one because it was inspired by an email. I'm going to tell you about it, but it's all about frameworks and what a framework is, why it helps people, and just really a new take on this idea of frameworks, which I thought was really interesting. And I need to give all the credit to my friend Megan Hale. If you don't know her, you'll want to connect with her. She's amazing. And she sent an email, and I'm going to read part of this email. And when I read it, it was like everything kind of clicked into place of like, that is such a great explanation of what a framework is and why it works. And so let me read the part of her email to you. She said, "A framework tells me you've helped enough people to see patterns that consistently produce results. You've translated your intuition into a system others can follow, and you've tested it. You've done the deep work to pinpoint what actually moves the needle forward and in what order." Isn't that so good? It just helped me think about not like, I don't know. I just think there's so much that goes into, like in the online space, especially. We've got frameworks and names for things, and I am so guilty for wanting to name basically everything I create. And I've wondered, why do I want to do that? Is it because I've seen it happen? And this is why. This is why I wanted to start naming things and giving people the framework. And it's because it showcases that this is not something that's just Amanda thought it up yesterday. It's something that I've seen a pattern with, and it's been tested, and it moves the needle forward, and there's a specific order to it. I just really love that so much. So thank you, Megan, for sharing that in your email. It was wonderful. And what I thought we could talk about was not just like what a framework is, but I thought I'd share mine as well of like what everything ties into so that you can see, maybe you're thinking about working with me as a coach or using some of my tools or whatever, and you can understand more of where I'm coming from when I'm teaching, but also looking at other people's frameworks and seeing, oh, okay, that's why this is clicking for me. Or maybe you're looking at something, maybe it's a program or a course or a coach or whatever, and you're like, something really, like, I just don't know if this is the right thing. Chances are maybe their framework is not highlighted. They may have one, but they may not highlight it. So you may ask them if you're evaluating something like what system, what framework do they use? And I think it's really important to also say that frameworks come over, like they happen over time and they evolve over time. So there's things that maybe I referenced in 2017 that are way more solidified now, right? I just probably didn't have a name for it, but maybe I named it in 2020 or 2021, and now it has a different name today because it's been tested more. So I think it's important to note that it's okay for frameworks to change too. So like just because someone, had the XYZ framework on their website and now it's ABC, it doesn't mean they were wrong. It means they're evolving. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So understanding that, and as a business owner, most everyone who's listening to this podcast is an entrepreneur or wants to become one. And you may be thinking, but I don't have a framework yet. And that's okay too. I know you'll want one. I know clearly I was trying to name things for, since 2017. And looking at that and thinking, I wish I had that, or I want it to be stronger, or whatever the case is. And it comes over time. So if you don't have that today, that's okay. Don't worry about that. But think about the patterns that you see over time. Maybe it's in yourself, maybe it's with your clients. And once you see those patterns, that's when you can say, oh, okay, this is my unique take on X, whatever your topic is. So let's talk about why frameworks work a little bit more, because I want to hone in on this just so it like clicks a little bit, because at least for me, it's really fast, but maybe this is the first time you're hearing this, and I want to go a little bit deeper than just those few words. And so the framework, it's really identifying something that works, not just for one person. So in order for a framework to be a real framework, it has to work for more than one person, because if it's something that just works for you, that's fantastic. That's a wonderful system for you. I wouldn't sell it as a framework though, because if it doesn't work for someone else, it's not truly a framework. It's a system that works, and that's great. But it needs to work across the board, like for your specific person. So for me, when I think about the things that I have done, I specifically, the majority of the time I'm working with entrepreneurs. And the majority of the time it's female. It's not always the case. I work with people that are not entrepreneurs, and I work with men as well as women. So across the board, there's a general idea, but I need to know that it works for people. So what I found is that I work well with people that have lives that are not like the same all the time. Their life is always changing, which I think is everyone, but it's someone who falls into that bucket of a very high achieving person who wants to check all the things off the list, but because life gets in the way and throws them curveballs pretty frequently, that's a really hard thing to do. So I needed every framework that I ever create to work for more than just me. It needs to work for the person who has that type of a season of their life, right? And it's pattern recognition. This is not luck. It's not, ooh, I wonder why that worked. Nope. There's not a wondering here. It's a framework. A framework is solidified in a pattern that is like when we do X, Y, Z in that order, the result is this. That's how you can start to see the framework come to life. And it also means you're not starting from scratch every time. So as you're looking at the frameworks that you use in your own life and that other people are talking about, it's, would I have to start from scratch again? Or can I go back to the top or back to the left or right or whatever, can I go back to step one and follow it again? And be like, okay, I'm just resetting. Does it give you that reset button? Because that's when frameworks really work well. When we are overwhelmed, when we are doubting things, when we are thrown a curveball in life, the framework you can come back to and say, okay, I'm just going to reset. I'm just going to hit that reset button on this framework and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or however many steps it is. That's when you know it is a framework versus I'm just going to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what works, which we all have to do sometimes. So there's no shame in that, but it's not a framework. So that's what we're calling a framework. And it really helps you reset, get a result, and have a process to follow. So this is what that really works with. And that's why I wanted to share a little bit more once I got sparked that inspiration from the email. And I want to tell you about mine. So I actually have several, and this is not abnormal for people to have different frameworks for different things. And so I have the goal design, there's a masterclass and there's a goal design session, which you and I could work together on. Those things, there is a goal design process. There is a framework that goes with that whole process. There's one just for that. I also have a momentum masterclass that has a framework within that as well. And I have recently built a self-accountability tool that has a weekly check-in process. All of those have individual frameworks because it's a repeatable process that you can come back to. It is a pattern and it has worked for way more than just me. This is hundreds of people at this point that I've worked with over the last 8 years and why it's so much more solid. So all of that to say, each of those things have their individual framework. However, when I boil everything down, every podcast episode that I create on this podcast and have done in the past, every time I speak on a stage or in a room to a group of people, anytime I am with a client, any pre-recorded thing I've ever recorded, my emails that go out, the social media posts that go out, every single thing that I talk about boils down to what I call the 3 C's. Now, sometimes I'll use different words when I teach on this, depending on what it is. I was speaking recently and I switched one of the words up, but it's the same thing. So my umbrella framework is the 3 C's. And so I figured I would tell you all about those 3 C's today so you can see exactly what goes into anything and you can feel it. And you'll know, as if you've been a listener of this podcast or you're on my email list or follow me in some way, or definitely have worked with me in some way, you'll feel it. You'll be like, oh yes, she does talk about that all the time. And I've seen it over time. And again, 2017 version of Amanda would not have known the 3 C's. So I didn't know then, but it's always been there. I've seen it. I've known it. I just have words for it now. So the 3 C's are clarity, capacity, and commitment. Those are the 3 things that we always have to come back to, because if you want to achieve a goal, if you want to learn something, if you want to do something, accomplish something, whatever, you got to have these 3 things. And that's really what it boils down to. So we're going to go through the 3 C's. I'll tell you a little bit about each of the 3. Clarity is always first. If you don't have this, you cannot move forward. And that's the thing. Remember, frameworks have a process in which It's going through a specific pattern and an order. And so clarity is always first, 100%. So if you skip this, things get wonky real fast. So clarity is always first, and it's what you want and why you want it. This is so important, and it seems silly. Anytime I talk about this, I almost have to say, like, I understand how silly this sounds, but what do you want? Because it's so common that we actually lie to ourselves, sometimes not even on purpose, about what we want. And it's because we see so much. We see people doing this and shiny object over here and all this, and we think, oh, that's what I want. But if you ask yourself the second question, why do I want this? And you really are honest with yourself, and this is the key, is being honest about this is hard, but you really have to do it. If you lie to yourself, even if it's not on purpose, that's when you stop making progress. But if you really want something, you can look back in your life and think, when I really wanted this thing, it was like, I'm going to get it, right? And it was because you had a strong why. Most of the time, we do not dig deep enough to understand the true why. We think, I want this thing because of this. And it's real quick and it's real surface level. Ask yourself a few more times, why do I want that? Why do I want that? There's this idea of asking yourself 5 times. Sometimes you got to go to 5, sometimes you don't. But get to the point of like, ooh, yeah, maybe you wouldn't share that with everyone that you know. Then you know that's the thing. That's the deep down why. I'm not saying it's always like something you wouldn't share, but if it's something that you would only share with your friends or close people in your life, that's when you know you've hit something, because it's really important to you then. So you ask yourself, what do I want and why do I want it? Now, the step that I like to include in the clarity piece is, how do you want to feel as you're pursuing that thing? That's also important, because when you either achieve something or don't, it's a moment in time. And you're like, okay, at the end of the year or the end of the quarter, the end of the month, however you're looking at it, you're like, did I do it or did I not? It's a moment in time, and sometimes it's a happy moment and sometimes it's not such a happy moment, right? But here's the thing, the pursuit is so much longer. I want you to feel however you want to feel, which is usually, I hear words like calm, peaceful, productive, energetic, all these things. You want to feel that. I want you to feel that the majority of the time you're pursuing the thing, instead of just the moment in time of achievement or not. So asking yourself how you want to feel actually helps you feel that more during the pursuit. So these are the things that we get really clear on. That's the things I talk about a lot on this podcast, is getting clear, having that clarity of these 3 things. Because if you don't have clarity, how in the world can you get what you want? I mean, it sounds so simple and so easy, but yet this is the piece that we skip over all the time and wonder, why didn't I get what I want? But if you don't know what you want, why you want it, how would you know what to pursue, what actions to take, right? So many of us start with the plan before really getting clear on these things. The second is capacity. So once you know what you want, why you want it, how you want to feel as you're pursuing it, the capacity comes into place. And there's 2 things wrapped into this. First, you need to really understand your season of life. And again, being very honest with yourself about it. How much time do you have? How much energy do you have? How much mental bandwidth do you have? What are the resources that you have? The skills that you have? Understanding what real capacity is for you in this season of life, because it's probably different than last season or the next season coming up. Understanding your true capacity will help you create a realistic plan. So then you understand exactly the constraints that you're working within. And then I want you to ask yourself a second question, which is, what is going to be expected of me? What is the real life expectations of how to get to this thing? In order to achieve X, what will I have to do? And write all of the things down. Asking yourself what's going to be expected of me and what roadblocks will get in my way, most likely. This is where you have to be honest with yourself, again, because everyone's going to have different roadblocks. Some of us will we're all going to be thrown off by life sometimes. We're all going to have health issues, whether it's ourselves or someone else, that come into play. Now, some seasons of life are going to be less frequent. Let's hope it's the majority of the time, but sometimes they're going to be more frequent. And other times there's going to be things that we can't anticipate, or like that are different for other people. Like, you may be a caregiver for a small child, for your parent, for a friend. That is a different season of life, right? than when you're not the primary caregiver for another person. So understanding like, well, I don't have this time that I used to have, and these things that are required of me to do are not realistic, and having that double check allows you to say, okay, well, maybe this isn't the season where I can pursue this particular thing, but maybe there's something I could do that would set me up for success in the next season. So for example, a lot of people will talk to me about writing a book since I have written a book. And I believe that anyone who wants to write a book can do it. I know that you can, but it does take, things that are not so fun, not so sexy. These movies that show you like going to a cabin and writing and it feels great and you're just in your zone. That is a load of crap, my friend. That is not what it is. If anyone has written a book and it's gone exactly like that, I'd like you to contact me because I'd like to talk to you. Because that is not any of my experience. It's not any author's experience that I've ever met. And I've met a lot of people who've written books at this point, and no one has had that experience. You have to say no to doing things that you really want to do because you really have to force yourself to write even when you don't feel like writing. And that's the thing that you have to understand is that any goal that is worth pursuing in your life, because you are a driven, ambitious person, it's going to be hard. You're going to run into roadblocks. So you have to get as many of them down on a piece of paper as possible. And you ask yourself, am I willing and able to do this in this season of my life? Now, here's the thing. I was recently speaking on this topic very specifically, and I looked at someone who was asking the question, and I said, and I want to be very clear to you and everyone else in this room, that if the answer is no, I am unwilling to do that, that is awesome. Because you're being honest with yourself. The problem is when we say, yes, I am willing to do it, knowing good and dang well we are lying through our teeth, not willing to do it, and we're not going to do it. And that sets us up for failure. So we need to celebrate the fact of if you sit down and you make that list, I've got this much time, this is what it's going to be expected of me in order to get to this goal, and you say, I am unwilling to do that. You know what that says? That says what's really important in your life in that time. And that's awesome. It tells you, like if you are unwilling to skip brunch with your friends to save money to pay off debt because brunch is important to you, cut something else out of your dang budget. Don't cut brunch. Brunch is important to you. Go to brunch. Have that time with your friends, but cut something else. That's all that means. It doesn't mean you're a terrible person or you're not going to fulfill the goal that you want to do. It simply means your trade-off needs to be different. And that's all it is. It's information. We just need to let it be. So now you know the clarity of what you want, why you want it, and how you want to feel, right? The capacity piece takes your real life circumstances into account, time, energy, expectations of yourself, and the trade-offs that are going to be needed. And you're honest about if you're willing to do it and able to do it. That allows you to create a plan. That's where you then go into planning mode and you say, okay, now I know what I want to do, what's expected, what's going to be required. I can create a plan that's realistic to my life because I've got 2 hours a week to focus on it. Instead of thinking, why didn't I get all that done? Well, you probably planned for 10 hours instead of 2, right? And so you understand that. Then the third C in the 3 C's is commitment. Ooh, commitment, my friend. Because if you have the clarity and you have the capacity and you have the perfectly thought out plan, but you are not committed, guess what happens? Nothing. Nothing happens. And commitment is very, very easy when things are going your way. Commitment is very, very hard when life slaps you across the face. Commitment is not motivation. And that's, I think, a really important thing to understand is that commitment doesn't mean you're excited all the time. Commitment doesn't mean you're ready and pumped and doing the thing. Commitment is deciding that you are going to do the thing you said you were going to do even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you just don't want to do it for whatever reason. It means that you are willing to adjust instead of abandon. And this is the important part because under no circumstances am I telling you that when life throws you a curveball, that is really hard, right? We're talking things that are, you can't go on with your day in a normal way. I am not, for any moment of time, telling you that you cannot feel your feelings and navigate that hard time. Commitment, in the way that I am talking about it now, is about adjusting when you can get yourself back up. You can be knocked down. It's okay to be knocked down. You get knocked down, you lay there for a little bit, you cry, you do whatever you need to do. But when you get back up, you adjust instead of quit. You don't say, I'm throwing in the towel because this last month has been too hard. I haven't done anything. I'm just going to abandon everything. No. Commitment is saying, it's okay that I missed it. I'm going to adjust and move forward. That is commitment. And that's where accountability comes in. And so when you have accountability in terms of support, and there's 3 levels that I've talked about many times. This is the other component of the commitment level, is personal and paid. I've talked about this many times, and if you've never heard this, I'm excited for you to hear it today, is that you can hold yourself accountable. I know that you can. You've achieved many things in your life. You can hold yourself accountable. You can use tools in order to do that. Your calendar is a great one. Project management tools, to-do list, planners, whatever you need to do in order to follow through on the things you said you were going to do, right? You can do that on your own. The majority of the time, I would argue to say you can do that on your own. When things are difficult, when you're in a challenging time of your life, when the thing that you're trying to achieve is extra hard, and you know it is, you probably need a little extra accountability. That's where peer or paid comes in. Peer is finding an accountability buddy. And that's what most people think about. And accountability buddies are fantastic as long as there's one key component. They have the same level of commitment as you. If someone wants to run a marathon and they find a running buddy, this is very common, and you're both like, I'm going to run this marathon, and you've got a date on the calendar, you've got a running plan and all these things. And one person is like, I am willing to run in the rain, in the snow, in whatever, right? Like they are on it. They are willing to do it. And the other person is like, I am unwilling to run in the rain. That's a different commitment level. And you have to understand that on that day when it is raining and you have no running buddy, are you still willing to go? Because it's extra hard, I can tell you that. It's easier, so if you've got 2 people, if you're watching the video, you can see this. If you are listening, I've got my hands kind of like on a level playing field here, right? When you're on the same commitment level, you're going at it and you're willing, and you can adjust a little bit, right? Everyone has off days. But if someone has a lower commitment level, so my hands are uneven now, it is more common for the higher hand here to go down and sink to the lower commitment level. I know that's a harsh thing to say. It is easier for that to happen than it is for the lower hand to go up. Having someone come up in commitment level is much, much harder. So when you're the person that's like, I'm going to lead this charge, I'm going to do it, just know it is very hard to bring someone up with you. It's easier for you to end up going down. And so just know that that's the reality of it. So that is a peer accountability where you're working towards something similar or the same thing, and you've got a buddy going along with you. And then paid is just what I'm saying. It is you're paying for the support. Having skin in the game with your money makes a huge difference. I wish I could give my services away for free and they would work. It does not work. I've tried it. I love everyone who's ever tried it, but you and I both know that it didn't work, because having your finances into the process makes a huge difference. It doesn't have to be massive. You can pay for a paid version of a tool. I've created a self-accountability tool because of this right here. I love working with people one-on-one. It is amazing, and I will do it as long as I can because it fills me up. I love supporting people in that way, but not everyone has the funds and not everyone has the time to meet with me every single week. So I have known I want to create a tool that will help people do this on a different level. But you got to pay for it, because if you don't pay for it, you're not committed as much. You and I both know it, so we just have to admit it. And I do this too. I pay for accountability, whether it's a coach, it's a live program, it's a tool, all of these things. So I do the same. And once you know your commitment level and the support that you need, you can make progress. These are the 3 things: clarity, capacity, commitment. If you hear me teach at any point, you will hear me talk about one or more of those things. That is the framework that I use. It's in everything that I teach. And all of this is built on 8 years of working with other people. So I know it's not just me. This framework works. And that's why frameworks really, really work. And so I thought, what a beautiful thing that Megan shared in that email of why frameworks work and what they show you from the outside. And so I do agree that frameworks are very helpful. It shows you that more than one person has used this and it has worked. And so my clients will tell you, the people who have followed this process will tell you that it does work. And so I would encourage you to think about that when you're thinking about purchasing anything for you and your business. If you want to achieve anything, life or business, right? Look at the track record of things. And I'm not saying someone new isn't a good person to try as a coach. People had to put trust in me before I had a framework, right? But if you're feeling a little uneasy, you might want to ask about the systems and the processes and just see what that person is teaching and the way in which they're seeing the patterns and bringing it to life. And if you're trying to build something, know that this is what you want to build too. You want to have that confidence in yourself, in what you teach, that has worked for more than just you. So find those initial clients who are willing to go on that journey with you, because it's super helpful. And if you're listening to this live, I would love for you to test out the self-accountability tool. So I am actually closing enrollment on Friday, January 30th. So if you're listening to this live, you got a handful of days to jump into the tool. And eventually this will be opened all the time. But right now I'm going to close it at the end of January, and you'll have access through the end of March. And then it will reopen. The goal is to have that open and ready for enrollment in April. But on January 30th, it's going to close. But all you have to do, either way, even if you're listening to this in the future, go to amandamckinney.com/goal tracker, and you can either you can enroll in the tool or get on the wait list, because you'll be the first to be notified when it's open. But regardless of whatever you do, I want you to think about which C needs your attention. So of the 3 C's that I shared of my framework, I want you to think about which C needs your attention. Is it clarity? Do you need more clarity on what you want and why you want it? If you don't know this, you can't get what you want, my friend. So if you need to think about that, take that action this week and get clear on what you want and why it's important to you and how you want to feel as you pursue it. Or maybe you need to check your capacity. Maybe you need to realistically look at your time and your energy and what it's going to take to achieve the goal, and make that list and ask yourself, am I willing and able to do that in this season of life? Or do you need to check your commitment? Do you need to say, you know what, I thought I was really committed to this, but I'm actually not. And that's proof in my actions, because I haven't been doing it. So I need to check this. Maybe it's commitment level, but maybe it's accountability support. Maybe you do need to find that buddy. Maybe you need to pay for a tool or a coach or some type of support that will help you take those next steps. But I want you to understand which of the C's need your attention today and this week, and then do the dang thing. Figure out what you want, or the capacity that you realistically have, so you can create a plan, or the commitment level that you need to honor at this point. And remember that frameworks are going to help you move forward. It's going to help you take the next step towards your goal. It's going to help you evaluate programs and things in your business and in your life. And just know that frameworks are a tool and a place to start. It doesn't mean it's prescriptive or it's boxing you in. It's giving you a place to reset each and every time. So thank you for sharing your time with me today. I really appreciate it. And now you know, if you feel like I'm repeating myself sometimes and you're like, oh, that's why she says that all the time. Now you know it's because it's part of the framework, and I really make sure it's infused into everything. So until next time, keep getting clear, honor your current capacity, and stay committed to whatever you want to do. And I'll see you next time.